Welcome to Swan Collab, and we are here for the e-learning education. My name is Teacher Grandy, and I will be your subject teacher for this refresher course 2020. And what are we going to learn for this course? We have the second topic, which is all about the adverbs of frequency. Again, yes, adverbs of frequency. So what are we going to learn right here for this subject? First is that you can formulate your own sentence, the correct one, of course. You'll be able to answer the negative and affirmative sentences. And most importantly is to improve our grammar skills, which comes with the reading, writing, listening, and speaking. All right? Attached in this presentation, we have included the file as your resources, also a PowerPoint presentation, and the last will be some video clips also for you to review. And I would suggest that after you've reviewed, you've watched, and you enjoy listening to this tutorial, you take the short quiz for a short assessment so that we will know, or we will find out how you did well with our lesson. Okay? So let's start first with introduction right here. All right. So we have the adverbs or the meaning of adverbs. Teacher, is this our actual lesson for today? No. So we just need to define first what is the meaning, because it is important that we know the meaning of what we're going to learn for this course. So let's start off with reading first this definition of adverb. As I understand, okay, and I just hope you still remember the meaning of this one, adverb defines like a verb, an adjective, and another adverb. Okay? Expressing manner, place, a time, degree, a word that can modify a phrase, clause, or sentence. So meaning it is describing an activity. So we go on with the real topic right here, which is for the adverbs of frequency. Are you following? Okay. So let's start off with defining this topic for today. Adverbs of frequency always describe how often something occurs. So meaning how a certain activity happens. We will find out later. So make sure to stay tuned with this tutorial lesson. Either indefinite or indefinite terms. Again, definite and indefinite terms. Make sure that you remember this too. All right? I'll explain to you later as well. An adverb that describes definite frequency in one such as weekly, 7 days in a week. Daily, so every day, which means Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the following week. And yearly. And how many days do we have in a year? We have 365 days. All right. An adverb describing indefinite frequency doesn't specify. Again, doesn't specify an exact time frame. Examples are sometimes, often, and rarely. So meaning you're not quite sure if it happened like on a daily basis, or it did happen on a weekly, or it did happen on a yearly basis. All right. So meaning you should be aware of what's happening with your activity or how you define other people's activity in a sentence, or even analyzing the sentence itself. Okay? So let's move on with other examples right here. Again, an adverb of frequency answers the question how often. So if I would be asking you how often you go to church, how often you take a bath, this will give you the answer right here. They tell us often somebody does something. Is it like only the person you are describing, or is it only your activity? All right. So it depends. If you're being asked by the teacher or by your colleague or friends, you should answer this question by having the right adverbs of frequency, okay? And we have again the types of frequency. I believe that you were listening a while ago and we have the two types. What are those again? We have definite. So we have again the yearly, the weekly, and the daily. So make sure that you know what is really happening with your activity or other people's activity, or how you can analyze or how you analyze the sentence itself. Okay? The second one is indefinite. We have doesn't say the exact time frame. So teacher, if I would say that I'm not quite sure of the activity, what specific adverbs of frequency should I be using? It depends, all right? So on the next slide, okay, we will know, we will find out, because there is like a certain degree, all right, for that certain activity that you will use to describe this adverb, all right? Let's see. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and as you're seeing to the left side, we have the percentage rate. Okay, from 100%, we have the 80%, we have the 60%, 40%, 20%, and 0. Teacher, do we need to describe this one by using the percentage? No. We have a corresponding English term, which is the adverb of frequency right here. So we describe 100% as always, okay? We describe the 80% activity for usually, all right? And we describe 60% as often. We describe 40% as sometimes. And we describe 20% as hardly ever and 0% as never. Teacher, how does it go? Which means, how are you going to be able to construct your own sentence correctly by knowing this percentage? Look, 100%. Say, for example, that you would like to describe yourself as taking a bath every day. If I would be asking you, do you take a bath every day? And yes, which means always. So which means I never skip. I've never missed a single day of taking a bath. So I would use the word always, okay? Not 100%, but it's just how you describe it as like a perfect activity for every day. But teacher, I think I've missed 2 days in my 10 days activity of that bath time. And for that one, I would suggest that you can use this one, the word usually. So meaning like, oh teacher, I forgot to take a bath like for 2 days. Like in the 10 period of time, I forgot 2 days, but I successfully took a bath for 8 days. So meaning, you can use the word usually, all right? How are you going to create this one, the sentence? We will have another one for the slides presentation. Just make sure you follow the lesson, okay? So, often, 60%. So, teacher, like in 10 days times, I was able to take a bath for only 6 days out of 10. So meaning 4 days I didn't take a bath. So that explains that you can use the word often. What about sometimes? And we use this one as like for having activity which you did accomplish like 40%. And 20% is about the hardly ever. So meaning that you seldom or you sometimes skip or you totally forgotten, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are not doing it or the other people that you are describing for this particular activity is not doing it. So we will be using the word hardly ever, okay? And the last one is 0 or 0%, which is never. So which means it didn't happen. So if I would be asking like, do you go to church, and maybe you're like, you don't believe in God, and teacher, I'm sorry, but I don't go to church. So I never go to church. So that explains, all right? So we will find out more of these examples with the following slides, okay? All right. These are the set of examples that you need to learn, and let's take, for example, one by one right here so that you will be able to figure out which is the correct adverb of frequency to use. So we use adverbs to describe how frequently we do an activity. These are called adverbs of frequency and includes, like again, we have the 100%, 90%, 80%, 70%, 50, 30, 10, 5, and 0. Okay? Are you following? So I don't think that there will be a problem right here with the 50% and 100% and 0. Like, look at the examples right here. 50% is half, 100% is always, which means 100% or every day. You didn't miss or skip anything. And the 0 is never. All right? So let's have examples right here. I always go to bed before 11 p.m. So teacher, if I say that I did go to church at 11:01, would it count for 100%? No, because we're talking about the exact time right here at 11 p.m. And what about like, if I say like 10:59? Definitely not, because we're talking the exact time right here of 100%. So I just hope that everybody right here in this class, or hope those who are listening in this video are really good in math. Okay? So we have the 90% right here, which is about usually. So how are we going to use this one? I usually have cereal for breakfast. So meaning that, for example, in 10 days that you have like, in 9 days you have cereal, and then the last day you took only fresh fruits. So you would not use this one, the word always. Instead, you have to use the word usually to describe your activity correctly. All right? And then we have the 80% or normally / generally. So meaning you can use either of the two. You can use normally or generally. I normally go to the gym. So meaning that in your 10 days activity, like the 2 days you went to like the park or went to watch a movie instead. So that's why you only went to the gym like for 8 days. So you need to use this one. I normally go to the gym. Yes, I know that you will be asking the question, how does the formula goes right here? The position of the adverbs of frequency in a sentence. We'll go with that one later, okay? So make sure that you stay tuned. 70% is the often or frequently. Again, we can use right here the word often or frequently. I often surf the internet. So again, you missed some of those activities. By the way, I'm saying that I right here because it's defining who or your activity, not unless you are describing other people's activity right here in this sentence. Okay? And we have the 50% right here sometimes. I sometimes forget my wife's birthday. Or maybe we can just change this one to like your classmate's birthday. So meaning like, maybe for example, since how many times do we celebrate our birthday in a year? It's only once, okay? So for this instance, maybe that for this year, you've forgotten his or her birthday, and then for the next year, oh, you remember it, and then you greeted her or him, and then the following year, you forgot it again. So you need to use this word sometimes, right? But try to be more observant right here with the formula or with the position of the adverbs of frequency, okay? We have 30% occasionally. I occasionally eat junk food. All right. So it's still denoting right here your activity, like the I. And I think this is really very good to describe myself because I don't really eat junk food. So meaning like maybe in 30 days or in a month, I will just eat, for example, like 9 days, right? So calculating 30% in 30 days is like 9 days, okay? And we have the seldom right here, which is the 10%. I seldom read the newspaper, all right? So what does this statement wants us to know? Seldom meaning that it doesn't really happen every day, only 10%. As I explained a while ago, the word seldom. And then the 5% is you can use the hardly ever or rarely. So again, hardly ever drink alcohol. This is really bad for you, okay? You're minor. So I would suggest that you should be using this sentence. Maybe we can just skip this one. And of course, 0, which means never. I never swim in the sea. Maybe because you're thinking that it's too dangerous. So meaning for this one, it didn't happen. All right? So let's take a look at this or more of this formula, okay? All right, so let's move on right here with the formula of our adverbs of frequency. So make sure that you do observe right here how we formulate or how we construct the sentence right here. So let's take, for example, the 100% as we have described it a while ago, always. Sarah always plays the piano. They always walk to the school, okay? So this one, Pablo usually plays football, all right? Make sure that you are observing the position of the adverbs of frequency for each sentences. Gabriela usually eats some chocolate after dinner. Normally, 70%. Hector normally rides his bike to the school, and Ari normally plays in the playground with her friends. Sometimes, the man is sometimes late for work. My grandma sometimes bakes cookies. All right, this is 50%. Occasionally, which is like 20%, or sometimes it happens, or sometimes it didn't happen, I occasionally read in the back. Maria occasionally jumps on the bed. So make sure that you are observing who is doing the activity. Is it you or the other person or the third person right here in the sentence? Okay? And make sure that you are also looking at the formula of each sentence presented in the slide. And the hardly ever, grouchy Smurf hardly ever smiles. And class 4 hardly ever get a yellow sticker, that's for 5%. And never is 0. Okay? So I never throw rubbish on the floor. Okay? I just hope that the pictures right here will be a better view for you to understand what is the description of the sentence. And it is never hot in the South Pole. I agree on that one. It is it's always cold. Right. So the use. So we are here to understand, first we have the definition. The second one is the use. Use adverbs of frequency to answer the question, how often? Again and again, we always we should know how to answer the word or the question, how often? Use positive verb with hardly ever and never. So what is the word positive? Which means that it happened. So hardly ever and never. He never smokes. He doesn't never smoke is incorrect. Okay. So what is the correct form? He never smokes. Let's try to look at the other examples right here. So the position. So it is important that you should know where to place the adverbs of frequency in a sentence. Okay, so there is a rule right here that we need to follow for you to understand further the construction of this sentence. All right, so we have the subject, plus adverbs of frequency and the verb, the subject. So meaning is either the you, the I, he, she, it, all right? Or maybe like the noun, the proper noun, the name of a person that you can use right here, and the adverbs of frequency, as we mentioned earlier, those examples a while ago that we've mentioned. And the verb. What is the verb again? The action thing, all right, of what's happening. Example, she always plays tennis in the morning. All right, what is always again right here in the sentence? It's 100%. So take a look at the placement right here. It's before the verb. Adverbs of frequency go before all verbs except be, all right? We will find out the word to be, okay, later on. But for this one, let's focus on these sentences alone. They usually have lunch at work. Can we say like, she plays always tennis? I don't think that's correct, okay? So meaning, if you place this one after the verb, your sentence will be incorrect, okay? Or how about, always she plays tennis? No, we have the rule right here, or shall we say, one of the golden rule right here for the adverbs of frequency, which is placing your adverbs of frequency before the verb, all right? Or after the subject. Right, let's move on with another example right here. Okay. So as I explained earlier, let's take more of these examples. I always remember to do my homework. So again, it follows the same rule right here, the position which goes for the subject, the adverbs of the frequency, and the main verb right here for this particular sentence. Where's the subject? I. Where is the subject or adverb of frequency? It's always. And where's the main verb right here? It's remember. All right? So if I would be asking you those three things in a sentence, make sure that you'll be able to answer it correctly. All right? How about the second sentence? He normally gets good marks in exam. So we have the he subject, that's correct. Normally is the adverbs of frequency, all right? And we have gets for the main verb, all right? Let's take, for example, another rule right here. Adverbs of frequency go after the verb to be. So what are the word to be right here in this sentence that we're talking about? The is, the are, the am. So meaning that they are placed after the word to be. So what are those examples? So subject, verb to be, the adverbs of frequency. We have the second rule right here, all right? So the first one, we have the subject, the adverbs of frequency, and then it follows the verb. But for this particular rule, we have this kind of formula. We have the subject, the verb to be, and the adverb of frequency. What is the example right here? We have she is always late for work. So let's identify right here what is the subject. So we have she. Is that the subject? Yes. And is the verb to be. Am I correct? Yes. And always, what is always again? We have the adverbs of frequency. All right. They are often hungry. They, it's the subject. Are is the verb to be, and hungry is the, often is the adverbs of frequency. Are we following the rule right here? Yes. All right. So let's move on with other examples right here. So again, the adverbs of frequency goes after the verb to be. Another example is, they are never pleased to see me. Subject, they. Are is the verb to be. Never is the adverb of frequency. Are we correct? Yes. She isn't usually bad-tempered. So we have she as the subject, isn't as the after, and usually is the adverbs of frequency. All right. When we use auxiliary verb, Teacher, what are those auxiliary verbs? We have the have, will, must, might, could, would, can. Again, auxiliary verb. Have, will, must, might, could, would, can. The adverb is placed between the auxiliary and the main verb. Is it before? It is between the adverb. Okay? The adverb is placed between the auxiliary and the main verb. So another rule is subject, auxiliary, adverb, and main verb. She can sometimes beat in a race. So she can sometimes beat me in a race. I would hardly ever be unkind to someone. So I is the subject, would is the auxiliary, and ever is the adverb of frequency, and the main verb is be. Third example, they might never see each other again. They is the subject right here. Might is the auxiliary. All right, never is the adverb of frequency, and see is the main verb. Okay, are you following? Right, so let's take at the fourth example right here. They could occasionally be heard laughing. So they is the subject right here. Could, what is could? The auxiliary verb. And we have occasionally, which is the adverb of frequency, and be is the main verb. All right. So this is just like a summary of what we have learned for today. These are examples. So let's try to review again of what you've learned, and then we'll take a short quiz right here, okay? Or before taking the actual quiz in this presentation. So we can also use the following adverbs at the start of a sentence: usually, normally, often, frequently, sometimes, occasionally. All right. So for this one, the word occasionally, frequently, and sometimes, and often can be used at the start of the sentence. Occasionally, I like to eat Thai food. All right. Is this one acceptable? Yes. But take a look right here, the placement of the word with the comma. Right? But we cannot use the following at the beginning of the sentence: always, seldom, rarely, hardly, ever, and never. Okay? So we have always, seldom, rarely, hardly, ever, and never. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? We cannot use that one at the beginning of the sentence, only for the usually, normally, often, frequently, sometimes, and occasionally. We use hardly ever, never with positive sentence, not negative verbs, right? We hardly ever comes to my parties. They never say thank you, right? We use ever in questions and negative statements. Have you ever been to New Zealand? I haven't ever been to Switzerland, the same as I have never been Switzerland. Okay, so this one is also correct. Again, we use the hardly ever and the never in the positive, not negative verbs, and we use the ever in questions and negative statements only. All right. So these are like examples that you might as well be able to answer it on your own. All right. So try to look at this set of sentences that I have presented to you for today, and try to check if you be able to answer it correctly on your own, okay? So which one is the correct one, the sentence that we can use for the sentence? All right, how often do, and are you? So which one is the correct one to use in this sentence? For example, in the first sentence, see a lion on your way to school. Would you use like, how often do you see a lion on your way to school? Or are you see a lion on your way to school? Which one is correct? We can use right here, how often do you see a lion on your way to school? Okay? All right, so we move forward right here with this next slides or presentation for us to analyze what is the correct formula of asking questions by using the adverbs of frequency. So again, we have this presentation for you to understand how are we going to formulate, construct the sentence in the right way. So we have like 10 questions right here for you to answer. So let's take, for example, the question 1, see a lion on your way to school. So are we going to use the word how often do, or are you in the beginning right here of this sentence? Or which one applies or is the correct one to use in this sentence? Let's start with how often do you see a lion on your way to school? Are you see a lion on your way to school? So what's your answer right here? So the answer is, how often do you see a lion on your way to school? Okay? Did you get it correctly? Second, watch TV at home. How often do you watch TV at home? Are you watch TV at home? So we can use right here what? The first one, how often do you watch TV at home? Have a shower before you go to school. How often do you have a shower before you go to school? Or are you have a shower before you go to school? So how often do you take a shower before you go to school? Fourth one is eat chocolate for breakfast. Is how often do you eat chocolate for breakfast? Talk in Spanish in literacy class. How often do you talk in Spanish in literary class? Number 6, how often do you study using the computer? And 7 is late to school. So how often are you late to school? And the eighth sentence is tired in class. So how often are you tired in class? Do you homework when you get home? Or how often do you do your homework when you get home? And number 10 is, how do you read books at home in bed? So these are the questions that you can formulate with the sentence answerable by the adverbs of frequency. So we formulate the question, and then you can have the answer by having this word of adverbs of frequency in a sentence. Okay? Are we clear? Let's take more of this example with the following slides right here. Are you ready to take the quiz? Okay? Don't worry. This is just like an exercise for us to pump up how we did well or we learned in this lesson. Okay? So we will have a summarize of this activity by having this short quiz for us to understand better which is the right form of adverbs of frequency we are going to use. Are you ready? Okay. So make sure that you mark your answers as well, and make sure you constantly practice this one after you've done it like for like twice or 3 times. Okay? So let's start off with the first sentence. I want you to read it with me, along with me, okay, so that you further understand what is the sentence all about. First sentence, Carlos is an excellent student. He blank goes to class. All right. So the first sentence has the implication of what we are going to use in the second sentence. Excellent. Teacher, I understand that the word excellent is like 100%. So what are we going to use right here? Shall we use always, usually, sometimes, seldom, and never? All right. Let's see. How did you answer this first question? Always. All right. So we have the answer right here. He always goes to class. So meaning it answers the word excellent. All right? Let's go on with the second sentence right here. I hate vegetables. I blank eat carrots. I hate. Does it mean that you don't really eat vegetables? All right? And then blank, eat carrots. So what is carrots? Is it like a fruit? Is it like a vegetable? It's obviously a vegetable right here. But on this first sentence, it implies or it denotes that you hate, okay? You don't like. So are we going to use always, usually, sometimes, seldom, and never? All right. So I think I would like to find out the answer, okay, once you are done as well. Let's see if you're correct. We have the correct answer, never. Are you also correct with your answer? I hope so, okay? Why never? So for this one, it explains like the word hate. So meaning that you've never loved vegetable right here, so most probably that you've never or you wouldn't eat vegetable at all. And since we have like here carrot, it's a one form of vegetable, so we would use the word never. Zero. Okay? All right. Let's see more of these examples right here and how we're going to answer this quiz. Robert goes to the gym only 2 or 3 times a year. 2, 3 times a year. So we're talking about like year right here, and again, how many days are there in in a year? We have 365 days. Year. So make sure that you have the keywords right here to understand the sentence. So are we going to use always, never, usually, or seldom? He blank goes to the gym. What is the most appropriate answer right here? I'm guessing that I will be using, of course, I would like to find out if you have the correct answer as well. Are you ready? All right, let's see. Seldom. Did you got it correctly? That's good. All right. Why seldom? So most likely it's just like 20%, as we have explained earlier. Were you able to review? You want to go back again? We will have a short recap of that one. But as we did understand a while ago, seldom is just like 20%. All right? So it almost, or it didn't happen in a year. So for this one, the most appropriate adverbs of frequency that we're going to use in this sentence is the word seldom. All right, let's move on with number 4. Harold never leaves the college on Friday. He blanks eats at the cafeteria on Friday. All right, so what are the key words right here? Never leaves, all right? The college on Friday. He eats at the cafeteria on Friday. All right. So are we going to use the word always, never, or seldom right here? Let's see. What is your answer? So are we going to use always, because always is like 100%, never is like 0, and seldom is like sometimes? Okay, let's see. Always. Why? You see, Harold never leaves, which means that he's always there. It's 100%. Did you got it correctly? I hope so. All right? Because this short quiz will be somehow the same as your quiz that you'll have after this presentation attached in this course. All right? So let's have a look at the example 5 and 6. Are you following? I hope so. All right? We still have the same examples right here, but we need to find out which is the correct adverbs of frequency we are going to use in the sentence. Mrs. Bieton, all right, is always in a good mood. She is blank sad. Is always in a good mood. So always, usually, and never. What do you think is the most appropriate right here? All right. Shall I reveal the answer right here? 1, 2, 3. Never. She's always in a good mood. She is never sad. So meaning that she's always in a good mood. She's always happy. So you will use the word right here, never. All right. So for number 6, Teresa is not a pleasant person. Oh my God. So which means that not. We're talking about a negative right here. Description for a person. She is blank, bad mood. Never, seldom, always. What do you think is the appropriate adverb of frequency right here to use in this sentence? Okay, are you ready? Let's reveal the answer right here. Always, because not a pleasant, and she is always in a bad mood. Okay, make sure that this first sentence is related to the second one. This one gives you the idea of what you're going to use for the second sentence. All right, so we still have, all right, moving on with our seventh sentence right here, question. Let's see if you can still answer this one correctly. So, my sister usually drives to work with a friend. She blanks drives alone. So what do you think is the most appropriate word that we're going to use? Is it never, always, usually, or seldom? Let's see. So again, my sister usually drives to work with a friend. And for this one, are we going to answer this one never, always, usually, seldom? Let's see if you have the right answer. Let's reveal. It's seldom, okay? Because of the word usually at the beginning of the sentence right here. Let's take, for example, this one, the eighth sentence. I never lend money to Curtis. He blank pays me back. Never, all right? So, he sometimes pays me back. He always pays me back. He never pays me back, or he usually pays me back. So, pretty much sure right here in the sentence that the first one is giving you the idea of what you're going to use. So, we can use right here, okay, maybe there's an error. For this one, it's about, the answer is he never, okay? All right. Let's take an example right here for question number 9, okay? So, Susan goes to the beach whenever she can, and she blank misses a chance to go to the ocean. So, we have 3 choices right here. Can we use the never? Can we use the always? Or can we use the word usually? Okay? So, Susan goes to the beach whenever she can, and she never, okay? Is that the correct answer? Or always, usually? Let's reveal this one. And the answer is never. On the 10th sentence, okay, this is the last one for our short quiz. Just like an exercise, just to know better if you've learned something from today's lesson. It almost always rains in Seattle. The sun blank shines there. Is it always, usually, or seldom? It almost, okay? It almost always rains in Seattle. Let's see if we have, or you have the correct answer. Let's reveal it right here. Seldom, okay? So for this one, again, let's have a short recap right here of what we have learned. And make sure that you're going to review this one, because I would suggest that after you have reviewed, okay, after you've listened to this video, you take the short quiz, okay, for you to find out how you did well. So again, these are the words that we're going to use for this adverbs of frequency. I just hope you enjoyed this tutorial lesson, and I'll see you again for another lesson.